what are we doing? What am I doing working in this industry? Human skincare is really moving on and becoming more ingredient conscious. And it kind of made me wonder why we're not asking the same questions about products we're spraying on a 600 kilogram animal every day. I'm an all or nothing person, so once I decide to do something, I just give it 100% until I get there. What next? Is this it? Does this make me happy? Should I be here? Don't be afraid to change your mind. Some of the best horse people I've met are the ones that never stop learning. I can't tell you that for sure, but what I can tell you is
this season is brought to you by the Harry Hall One Club.
Hello, welcome back to season 2. No, wait. Welcome back to season 6, episode 2. Nobody saw it, nobody heard. Nothing went wrong. Welcome.
That's definitely got... I hope that gets left in because that just summarises how Rhea and I are feeling. We have very busy lives and fitting this podcast in is such a pleasure and also a job in itself, like literally just aligning calendars. So the fact that Rhea was just like, welcome back to season 2 just summarises exactly where we're at today. How are you though, coping in this horrible heat wave again?
It is hot, isn't it? I do feel like the things I want to talk about are quite heat themed. I had my lesson this morning and it's hard because Harley is quite fit at the moment and he feels so well and so jolly, and we've got our new saddles and we just can't do anything. Like I was supposed to be competing today and I cancelled it a couple of weeks ago because it was so hot and he's just not very good in the heat. And we had a little lesson at 9 o'clock and we kind of did a little bit of easy stuff and then we stood in the shade and we kind of chatted away for a while and then that was it. But perfect. I did use the Honest Riders Rinse Bug Bombs.
Oh,
they're so, first of all, they're really fun, and I don't think we should underestimate fun as a factor in the products that we buy.
I agree.
Joy is important.
Joy is so important. That's so great. They're lovely, aren't they? They're like it's like, you remember when you were a kid, I don't know if you had them, and they were like these funny little bulb, like plasticky, they were probably terrible for the planet, but they were like kind of rubbery on the outside and they were like a marble, and then you put them in the bath and they went soggy and then like soap came out. Yeah, they kind of give me that vibe, but like eco.
It's very lush, like lush vibes.
Yeah,
and they smell great. Like they're these little tiny little bath bombs is what they look like, and they come in this recyclable packaging which can go on your muck heap, by the way, and it says on the package prepare for a sensational, words to that effect, and I literally was like, oh yeah, cute, and then I opened it and it smells divine, very lemony, and it was just lovely. And you put it in some water, it dissolves, and then you wash it over the horses, and then you wash it off. It's lovely. And so I've done a video. It's going to go on it might be out by the time you listen to this, actually, on my Instagram, but that was fun.
Nice.
And I have a couple of other heat related things to touch on, but you go first. How's your week been in the heat?
Well, I was thinking, actually, I had a piece of advice for you. I think you should clip Harley.
Do you think? Oh, because I don't want to ruin his lovely coat. It
doesn't ruin their lovely coat. That is.
But he's lovely and shiny.
Yeah.
I don't mean ruin the growth. I just mean it looks really nice in the summer.
Yeah. So you won't. It's an old wives' tale. I clipped Zora yesterday and I gave her a bath. I gave her a Goodbye Flies bath, which is another great recommendation in this weather. It's a shampoo for everything. You can literally do everything with it. It's really remarkable stuff. But anyway, it's very good pre-clip shampoo because it helps them be shiny underneath. And she looks really shiny. She looks really healthy underneath. So if they are healthy from the inside out, which I know that Harley Boy is, it will just help him. Like, we have clipped quite a few of them. We've given some of the kind of porky ponies that struggle a bit with hair, because they're quite hairy as well, because we've had really changeable temperatures. Like, we've had 10 degrees at night and then 35 degrees in the daytime. Like, that's a really hard thing for a horse to kind of calibrate. We've given quite a few of them trace clips, and then I clipped Belle and Zora out completely because I need them to be able to do some work, and it's helped a lot. Like, they sweat less, they're easier to wash. We just put fly rugs on them overnight to kind of protect them a bit.
That's my one worry in the summer is when they're freshly clipped, he does rub a bit anyway. He is very sensitive on his skin. It's chestnut, right? And the flies and cuts and things, and I'm like, oh gosh, is that just going to be really hard? How have you found that?
Yeah, I haven't worried about it too much. It is swings and roundabouts, exactly that. And, my courses are out in very consistent groups. They're quite, as Harley is too. But I kind of had to weigh it up. I'm going to the horsemanship masterclass this weekend, and it's at Wellington, which means it's covered, which means we'll be protected from the sun. So it's still running because it's going to be 30 degrees. Like it is hot. But I mean, we're predominantly doing like very low energy things as well. We're not kind of jumping on 130. Like it's not going to be a big ask on them physically. But I was like, I feel like probably she might struggle with that. So I wanted to give her a haircut. So I just wanted to say that because, sometimes we can get a bit caught up in like, I'll ruin their coat or that kind of thing. And actually the reality is we've got to move with the times.
You're not wrong. I do have lovely liveryman clippers that they gave to me, and I ended up not doing a final clip. They sent them to me for a final clip, and then I didn't because I was like, actually he's fine, but maybe I can get them back out. But what you just said about 30 degrees has brought me nicely on to one of the topics I wanted to talk about. So I don't know where it came from because it was shared by someone else, but there was a temperature gauge guide that was shared on Facebook that I saw. And I was quite shocked at the advice. So I want you to imagine it's.
Can I ask who wrote this? Who created this?
I don't know who created it. I only know who shared it. It was a riding school, just being okay, this is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So they have a vested interest in running their business in a way that feels safe but allows them to continue to run, I guess. Mm-hmm. But they didn't make it. I don't think it was advice. It looks like it's professionally made from some kind of body maybe, but it doesn't have a logo or anything on it, so I have no idea. So it's 4 columns, and in the first column it's got the temperature range, in the second column it's got jumping, schooling, and then comments. So at the bottom it's below 23 degrees, no additional action is required, do normal cooling and ensure heat management and risk assessment throughout the day. And I was like, okay, if that's the bottom bar, that feels high for a bottom bar. 23 degrees, that's already quite warm maybe it's because my horse is quite heat sensitive. But then it goes 23 to 28, monitor conditions carefully, provide cooling at the finish, ensure heat management. Up to 28 degrees, that says. Then it goes 28 to 33 degrees, cooling facilities must be available, water for volunteers and horses, intensive cooling at the finish, carry out heat risk assessment to identify risks and mitigation measures. And I'm like, okay, but that feels really high already. Then it goes 33 to 38 degrees. If no shade is available, consider cancelling or provide adequate shade. Provide water for volunteers and horses. Consider reducing session length, number of rounds, etc. Intensive cooling at the finish. Proceed with caution. Carry out a risk assessment. And then 38 degrees and above, cancel, this is above blood temperature and the event should be cancelled. 38! I was like, how did we get all the way to 38 before we were like, maybe cancel? I was just really surprised.
Yeah, I'm just looking up because there was a show recently that was run that was a big show, and they released a statement and they said, we are aware of the heat stress, we are aware that this could be a risk, but we're going to run anyway. And the comment section was dangerous. So I've just been on the British show jumping, and it's quite different to that instruction that you've found. And I'm a bit, I don't think we should take what you just read out as gospel.
No, I'm saying it was shocking information.
Yes. Yeah.
Insane to say that it's okay to ride in these temperatures. That's how I felt.
Absolutely. Yeah. So mandatory adjustments if temperatures reach, this is from British show jumping and British dressage, British equestrian actually, and British dressage, sorry. If temperatures reach 30 degrees or higher, organisers consider cancelling or severely modifying events. This includes reducing warm-up times, limiting jumping efforts and adding extended breaks. So 30 degrees. The federations are kind of considering things. And I think this is the key, right? It's a really difficult thing to start understanding and modifying things, because we're having to do things as things are happening, if that makes sense. So as the climate is changing, we can't predict, okay, from X date it's going to be this hot. Because it's not like that. Like I said, we had that heat wave and then it went back down to 10 degrees at night. So I think it's a really hard place. And I think, we're in a very difficult position in the UK at the moment, and it's something that we all have to keep considering. And I think one of the things that I would say is consider the necessity of what you're doing. you know, and consider the controlling factors. Like you said the other day, you weren't able to be there early enough. Your yard has quite, you know, the timings are limited on the yard, so you just couldn't ride. And that was just, that was it. That was what you did. Whereas I'm thinking about this weekend, and I'm concerned about it. I'm thinking, you know, how am I going to make sure that Zora is safe and happy and comfortable? She's my responsibility. Whether the event runs or not, my horse is my responsibility. Yeah. And whether I would, you know, lose an entry fee or something like that, what I would be losing would be an opportunity if I chose not to partake. But undercover, we're doing things that, you know, the hottest part of the day is going to be when we're doing talks. Everything is very slow. You know, that's me understanding that's me doing my risk assessment. And that's, I think, what we've got to do, right? We've got to do our risk assessment, and we've got to talk about what is relevant for us and our horses. And I guess I think that probably stems further than just a heat wave, you know, like your horse is your responsibility. And if you go to have a lesson with somebody and they turn around and start saying something that you don't agree with, then that's your moment to say, this is my risk assessment. I don't like the feeling of this and I'm not going to do it.
And there are variables, like every horse is different. Harley runs very hot, which means in the winter he hardly wears rugs and it's great. And everyone's like, is he not cold? And I'm like, no, literally never has been in his life. But it means in the summer he gets really warm. And I was talking to a friend because I saw a couple of professional riders sharing footage of them riding undercover. I think most of them were undercover, but they were in the middle of the day in the last heat wave. And I was like, oh, that feels really, I don't know how I feel about that. And her response actually was, well, that's going to be the same temperature that they're riding in Aachen. And these horses are fit and they are going to Aachen. And I was like, I hadn't considered that, like, fair. And there is a different level of fitness and a different expectation. Then I was like, is it, should we think about it like that? And then I was like, it's not so much that they're training in it if they're prepping for Aachen, but they've shared it publicly. And there might be someone with a pony who's like, well, so-and-so's riding at 12 p.m, so maybe it's okay for me to as well. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking it too far.
I'm going to take a moment to talk about the season sponsor of this podcast, the Harry Hall One Club. Now, as an equestrian, you know how unpredictable life with horses can be and how having the right insurance cover can make you feel more at ease. But most of us can begrudge paying out for insurance each month because sometimes it feels like it doesn't offer much value unless you actually need to make a claim. That is where our sponsor for this season, Harry Hall One Club, is refreshingly different. Harry Hall One Club is the go-to equestrian membership that combines insurance and money-saving perks together in one simple package from as little as £5.75 per month. So what's the deal? It's simple. To get insurance with Harry Hall One Club, you just need to sign up to become a One Club member, but then you get public liability, personal accident and equine legal expenses cover, plus extra money-saving perks thrown in too. That's the bit we really like. When you join as a One Club member, you get perks included such as legal helpline, 24/7 counselling service, free delivery, returns and exclusive discounts on harryhall.com, partner offers and event tickets. It helps you ensure you're getting your money's worth all year round, even if you never need to make a claim. In addition to the insurance included as standard, you can also choose to add on other types of cover like vet fees, tack, transport and breakdown cover as well. One Club membership is a fit for every equestrian, whether you loan, own, ride or you don't have a horse at all. With transparent pricing, you pay the same as everyone else, and they truly believe that every horse matters, so the price is the same for every horse. They don't ask you to choose your favourite horse, or if you own more than one. It's handy for me. And you can add multiple horses with no extra premium and share your vet fee cover across all of them. Members trust Harry Hall too, with thousands of excellent reviews and a reputation built since 1891, with a track record of paying over 99% of valid claims within 14 days and over 95% of their reviewers recommending Harry Hall. Plus, you'll always get friendly Yorkshire-based support whenever you need it. And if you need any more reasons to convince you to become a member, they also donate thousands of pounds to equine charities on your behalf, like their charity partner of 2026, our friends at Red Wings Horse Sanctuary. Take their 2-minute quiz via the link in the show notes and it'll help you find out which membership level might be fit for you. Plus, when you join and get cover, you'll receive a £10 gift voucher to spend at harryhall.com. You can also use our code SADDLEUP10 for 10% off their whole website. And if it's not for you, you can cancel within 14 days. No stress. Join One Club and get your cover today. No, I don't think you are taking it too far, because I think that it's important that we, you know, those kind of situations are provided with disclaimers, essentially. Yes. And it is, you know, we have got responsibility to be responsible as equestrians, definitely.
Yeah. The other topic I wanted to talk about was fans. I was hoping to come here with some more useful info. I've reached out to some brands that I know that have fans, and I've asked them about the closed circuit element, and I'm hoping they can come back to me, but they haven't been able to yet. And in fairness, I only messaged them this morning, and we're recording at like 4 p.m, 3 p.m. So when I hear the key info, I will update you. So it might be an episode 3 update. Fangate.
I love this. Fangate. Well, Fangate is ongoing for me because we have these fans that George has for the gym, but since learning that they are in fact unsafe, I'm now scared to use them
because
they don't have a they don't have a closed thing. I have tried desperately to purchase these fans that are like the right thing. They are all sold out. There is not a fan in sight in the UK. They're like, oh yeah, you can have them, but you can't have them for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, well that's not any good. So then I keep looking, and then I don't find any. And then by the time I realise I can't find any, I should have just bought them because they'd at least be here next week. And then for whatever heat wave rolls in, we're going to have to stop calling it a heat wave. That's the thing. Yeah, icky.
Oh, well, I'm making a face because I'm like, we're not there yet, but we're certainly getting warm. We're getting to the point where I think amongst my friendship group, etc. Everyone's like, oh, it's probably just worth having a fan now, or considering. Like, I have friends who've now got aircon or bought aircon units because they're like, it's happened enough times now that this is summer.
Did you know that the UK nearly ran out of electricity in the last heat wave?
What?
No, I'm not joking. My mum told me this. There was a whole article in in one of the papers about it, in a newspaper about it, and like not like the Sun, like as in you were like a proper one. I think it was like the Independent or Guardian or something, and but we were buying.
Sorry, I was just going to go on a small tangent and be like, oh, I wonder which way they lean politically. It's just so hard to tell from their podcast. We'll never know. Left.
Yeah. Definitely not right. That's for certain. I'm definitely. Yes. I'm like the really long way off in that direction. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. She said that we were buying electricity. The UK were buying electricity because there has been such an enormous incline in people leaving fans on. All of these different things, like it's really scary. Like this is really serious, and you kind of don't hear about it in the really dramatic sense. And I don't know if it's because people don't, the big fish don't want the small fish to understand. But yeah, it's an important topic that we all need to be very, very aware of. And I did a video about sundown bedding. So we use a very sustainable bedding source in our yard. It's chopped straw, it's sourced locally, it's air dried because it's straw, so it's dried by the sun. And then it's chopped up and it's packaged, and that's it. And it works really well. This isn't an advert. They've not told me to say this, but I want to talk about it because I've received some really interesting comments on the post because I talked about climate anxiety. Which I have, for sure. I'm there like, oh, the world's on fire. And people are like, what's the point? What is the point in us doing anything small when you've got China and the USA and India, who are all coal, a lot of coal-fired power stations. And yeah, I absolutely get it, right? It feels like this is a spit in the ocean. Yeah. And the thing that I came back to was I saw a video. There's this great guy on Instagram, and I'll put his posts because he explains it so well. He uses Lego to explain things. Have you seen this guy?
No, I haven't.
And he was talking about, he was like, he was saying, people always say, tax the billionaires, right? They are the problem. And he was saying how actually they are a very small percentage of the problem, and actually those of us who are living in we are like we earn above minimum wage. We are just that population. Even the people who are earning minimum wage, the people who are living in a home and doing normal things and having horses and driving cars, we as a population are the ones who are the most enormous proportion of the kind of the climate crisis as such. Like, we can really do something alongside the big fuel companies. And maybe this is going to spark some debate, and I'm all here for it. Please send us an email. We'd love to talk about it. But it was such an interesting thing for me to see, because he was saying that our small changes do have big impact. You know, get on less planes, do more local travel, make sustainable swaps within your lifestyle. Less consumerism was one of the biggest things that he was talking about. So if we can, as consumers, which we are, do sustainable swaps like we were talking about with Honest Riders, like we're talking about with sundown bedding, where it's just these small changes that we can all start to make, it does have a big impact. It was such an interesting thing to understand the one person, you know?
It's not only the direct impact that buying this versus this has, it is, with my marketing hat on, businesses are constantly looking at audience trends, constantly, particularly the youngest audience, because the youngest audiences, so is it Gen Alpha now, I guess? Gen Alpha, they know that if they can get them early, then by the time they have good spending power, they become a really important audience. So they're always looking at the next generation. And I'm not a vegan, but I sometimes eat vegan foods, etc. And we would not have the amount of vegan availability now if people were not making an active choice to be like, oh, actually, I'm not going to eat that, I'm going to eat that instead. And asking and asking and asking. Like, companies only do what will be profitable. I mean, you know, there's other elements to it, but that is business, right? So if it's more profitable to offer a vegan option, they will do that. And it's the same with like farming. Like my dad was a shepherd, as I think I've talked about before, and we often talk about the future of farming and how some farms in the UK are adapting into other practices, more sustainable, that protects not only their revenue but also the future of the industry, because it needs to change because of pressures from audiences and everyone else. So anyway, it has an impact in that way as well, which is cool.
Yeah, and I think it's I saw something as this lady, and she was talking about how she's got a kid, and she was saying how her child's clothing, everything to do with the child's education, is covered in animals, right? And she was like, zebras, lions, tigers, a whale on the wall. And she was like, if we want to teach our kids about animals, we need to look after them. We need to do something about, you know, the way the world works. We can all, like you say, those small changes can help to support looking after that wildlife. And I just thought, yeah, it's like this whole like cycle of things that actually we can all be aware of and do our little bit. Whether you think it's doing something or not, it really is, because like you say, it's that demand. Supply and demand. That's a big one, isn't it? Yeah.
Tick for the economics. A-level.
We have got a lovely. Well, I wanted to read something that I didn't get to read.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is from somebody whose name I'll leave out in case it needed to be anonymous, and I haven't checked whether it needed to be anonymous. But I wanted to read this out because it's just a lovely, lovely email. And if you guys feel like you'd like to send us nice things, then we would love to hear from you, because questions, debate topics, whatever it might be, please do, because we do read them. We read every single one. Go on.
Also, aside, if you want to send us a voice note on Instagram to either Miri or myself or the podcast that we can read out or like play, I would literally love that, because I love when podcasts do that. So you can do that too.
Me too.
Anyway, to the email. So
this was sent to me personally. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe you shouldn't have our group email. Hey Miri, I really wanted to reach out after listening to your latest This Equestrian Life episode to say thank you to you and Ree for the podcast and how validating and inspiring it is watching your videos. But I'm not on any social media apart from YouTube, so hence the email. I've been following you on YouTube and listening to This Equestrian Life for quite some time, and I really resonate with the beautiful, kind way you interact with and train horses, so thank you. I have a part Brumby mare who's such an incredible teacher for me and is similar to Blondie. in some ways, quite complicated and super sensitive, and doesn't trust vets and professionals easily. In the past, professionals have tried to work with her with escalating their energy, which has always ended terribly because she has so many opinions about things, and if she isn't listened to, she will shut down or go into flight very quickly. In the past 2 years, I've learned to advocate for her so much more, and our relationship is going from strength to strength, working with kind, gentle horsemanship methods and a lot of liberty play and R positive training. She's a total foodie, so R positive stuff, loves the R positive stuff, also so incredibly intelligent and smart. Listening to your latest episode and hearing you say how there are some things that are just not quite right with your horses adjusting to their new life is so validating for me to hear, so thank you. I feel like when we deep down you know something is off, but it is so tiny, and then having so many different behaviours and symptoms displays, it can seem tricky knowing what to follow or where to look for what's not quite right. I know it definitely doesn't replace professionals, but I wonder if having an animal communicator connect with your horses and help you gain some insight into what they are feeling. I remember you talking about this, and I think it was with Zora before, and saying how she loved to go dancing in her shiny bridle. I don't want to sound like I'm giving an opinion, because I'm definitely not, but I couldn't help but think when I was listening to you, I have personally found animal communication sessions to be such a helpful special tool. Especially with my mare being so expressive and telling me so many things, sometimes I can't figure out where to start. I just a thought, and absolutely love the podcast. As I said earlier, I find the conversation so helpful, inspiring and thought-provoking, so thank you so much. What are your thoughts on that? Would you have a communicator talk to Harley?
Yeah, I've had one before. I think the challenge is finding someone who really does have that gift, because it's really hard to tell. And sometimes I think it's really, and also I would say, and maybe there are people out there who do have this gift, it's really hard for them not to just pick up on your body language and the horse in front of them. And like, there are cues, like you can't help it. You look at the yard when you turn up, like we're all built to take in environments to keep ourselves safe. And you might look at the type of horse and the life and like get contextual cues. So I'm skeptical only because I haven't yet met someone who I am like I've had someone tell me stuff, and then I've like actively tried to do that, and it's just like not true, or like, you know, and I'm like, but I know this is a tangent, but I have become like really obsessed with, you know, the dogs that are given buttons.
Yes.
Actually, people do it with horses too.
Yes. I love it. And they're like,
and I
dinner.
really hope it's true.
Dinner.
There was a dog I watched the other day. I think they were an Australian Shepherd, so smart, you know. And they were like, bye, inside. And she was like, what? And he was like, outside. And I just think, I really hope that that's like true. But sometimes I'm like, how does the dog have that context? Anyway, the point is, I would love if it were like true. I'm just skeptical, I think. Conservatively skeptical.
I had an amazing experience recently. So after this email, I actually had my wonderful friend Eleanor, who built my website. I've told this story before. She approached me and said, I can help you build your website. And I was like, great. And then as we went down the line, she said she had this really complicated horse. And I was like, oh, well, I'd love to help you with that. And then she said, well, she told me. And I was like, what do you mean she told you? And she said, oh, well, I'm a communicator. And then I was like, now I know why you built my website. Because we were meant to meet each other, literally. And she has helped me so much, like incredible insight. Yes,
that told me I knew Blondie. Is she the one you said about the shiny bridle?
Yes, she was the one that told me about the shiny bridle. And
which is like,
she's
Zora loves her shiny bridle.
Zora loves going dancing and wearing her shiny bridle. Yes.
Yeah.
We had her come to the yard the other day.
Oh, a new one. Okay, go on.
So she, same person, but she came and she saw a pony that we've got called Harold. And Harold is a pretty complicated guy. He bites a lot. He's quite grumpy. He is complicated, and he's going through a lot of transition with his feet. He was in shoes before, and they're not great, and this kind of thing. And there was this one moment where we stood there. His owner was there. We had asked him quite a lot of questions. He was being very open. He was really showing Eleanor images, and then she translates them into words. She can't quite explain the process, but it's pretty remarkable. And I said to him, Harold, he's in one of our corner stables, so we walk around his stable every day. And sometimes he'll stick his head out and he'll kind of try and mouth a bit at horses. He very rarely actually bites them, but he pulls quite an unpleasant face, right? And I think it's about boundaries and about his own space and all of those things. And I said to him, Harold, I would really love, I understand what you're going through, but I'd really love if you could maybe reduce what you're doing by putting your head over the door. This stable is a bit of a privileged place because it means that he gets to communicate with his whole herd of horses that he goes in the field with all the time in that stable. And he, like this, like instantly, Eleanor said, he says no stable is a privilege for a horse. Honestly, I was like...
I would have loved to have known the image that got translated from, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure Eleanor could explain that to you at some point, but it was... I was like, yeah, I feel you, my friend. I get it. But then he is funny because he does love his stable because he comes in and he sleeps so much. He's doing so much processing. So having his own space where those other horses are there holding space for him is huge for him. But at the same time, he's like, yeah, this is never a privilege for a horse. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, you're not wrong. This is a human creation that we've done. And my stables are lovely, but really, he just wants to go roam on the plains, you know? That's what horses are designed to do. And I don't know, it was a very, like, stark realization for me. I was like, okay, yeah, this is real. And just fascinating, the kind of things that these horses come up with, you know? Like, this other horse that we've got, she's really complicated. She's got a really big barrel, and she had a foal when she was young, and she kept showing Eleanor, she was like, I feel empty. I feel like I have this big space in me that is empty. And I said, well, she did have a foal once, and Eleanor said, oh, it makes so much sense. That's what it is. And then the horse started to come out with more things. So there is an element of there being a conversation to it, which I think, like you're saying, you're there thinking that you want them to just tell you everything that you need to know without there being any kind of back and forth. Whereas I have found with Eleanor that actually the back and forth is where you start to get this openness. And she stands there with her hand on her heart like this, like I've just got my hand resting over my heart, and she just it's truly magic. And any time when someone's like, I don't believe it, well, do you believe in Bluetooth? This is like Bluetooth, okay? Because you can't see the file being sent through the airwaves, but it is being sent through the airwaves. So if the technology can do it, so can a human brain. Thank you.
It's when people share ones and they're like, he said, and I know you had Zora and her shiny bridle, but it was contextualized. When people are like, he loves it when we go jumping. He loves his like really man-made context, and I'm like, he literally doesn't. He's a horse. What I did find interesting, and the reason I let this person speak to my horse, was because Harley's stable is in the corner of the barn and his door is on the right hand side, so it's against the wall, his door. So he rarely puts his head over the door. He would much rather be at the other side where he's closer to his buddy and also closer to the open space, right? So he puts his head over his door if I'm there to give him a treat after a lesson or whatever. Anyway, she was treating or speaking to the horse opposite him, and he was over the door, fixed, for like ages. And when I arrived at the yard, I was like, oh, it's weird that he's over the door, because he looks really engaged. So I went over and I was like, oh, have you got no hay? No, loads of hay. And I was like, okay, weird. And then it was like, he kept like reaching his head. And I was like, and I said to her at the end, I was like, it's really funny that he's so engaged with whatever you're doing, because he doesn't do it for like physios or, And she was, oh yeah, he's actually been trying to get involved for quite some time. And I was like, do you want to speak to her? And then it was a really odd thing, like the way he stood in the stable when she spoke to him is like somewhere he doesn't normally stand, and the way he positioned himself it was all just quite different, and it looked very like, if she could have been manipulating his body, it looked like that. So then I was a bit like, all right, this is weird. But she said some interesting stuff, Anyway, that's for that. But yeah, I love
conversation though, and I think why don't we try and get a communicator from? Why not?
That would be fun. I'd love to hear how it works, and how do they take on the responsibility of translating something correctly, and do they try and get rid of contextual cues, and anyway, back to not reality. That sounds mean, but we're going to touch on some more sustainable topics today, because we've got Zoe, who is the founder of Honest Riders. She's had a fascinating career in her own right and then transitioned, and she, for me, is one of the people who truly lives a life that is meant for her. And I think I found that really inspiring amongst all the sustainability stuff. So we think you're really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it was really fascinating, and I think for anybody who's interested in dancing the line between riding horses professionally, like working with horses professionally, or having a career so that you can ride horses, this is a very interesting conversation for you. So without further ado, let's welcome Zoe to the podcast. This episode is sponsored by Pet and Pony. It's wonderful to be supported by them this season, as I've been shopping with them for years. And they were in fact one of my very first brand partners all those years ago. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I'm constantly running out of something. One minute it's first aid supplies, then it's a pair of new brushing boots because someone's managed to break something, then the chickens need some grit, the dogs need a yak bone, and before I know it, I've got 3 different online baskets open from 3 different shops, and that's where Pet and Pony can come in. I know I can get everything in one place, whether I'm buying stable essentials, grooming kit, riding wear, supplements, or replacing bits of tack. And the range is brilliant. They've got loads of brands you'll already know. Weatherbeater, Ariat, Shires, alongside everything for your horses, dogs, cats, and other pets. I rarely go looking for something and I can't find it there. One thing I'll say as well is their delivery is so good. You know when you've forgotten something that you desperately need for the yard? Every order I've had has arrived really quickly. It's always been well packed, and it's just one of those companies that's really easy to buy from. They've given listeners to This Equestrian Life a lovely offer. If you head over to petandpony.co.uk and use the code EQLife10, you'll get 10% off everything across the site. But just don't leave it too long, because the code is limited to the first 100 uses. Once those first 100 customers have used EQLife10, the discount is gone. So if you've already got a shopping list like I always seem to, head over to petandpony.co.uk. Use the code EQLife10 for 10% off site-wide. Terms and conditions apply. See petandpony.co.uk for the details. Back to the podcast.
Zoe, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. Hi, girls.
We have been really excited about this conversation because I think for both of us, your background and the things that you've done just touch on so many areas that we love. And there's a dog who's joined you, which is just boosted you up another level.
Yes, this is Coco, my little rescue scruff.
Oh, so cute. He's lovely. Oh, or she? He?
She, yeah.
She's lovely. But yeah, I think your background in marketing is very interesting for me, and the fact that you've built this incredible business around sustainable products is just very cool. So maybe we start there. Talk to us a little bit about before you started Honest Riders and what led you to start the brand.
Okay, well, it's quite a long story. I'll try and keep it brief because it gets a bit boring, but I have always been horsey, so I've had horses in my life since I was about 5 years old. I always wanted to work with horses, but for various reasons I kind of went down more of the academic route, and I went to university and ended up working in marketing in London. I grew up on a farm. Had quite a sheltered childhood. And so going to London was a bit of a shock to the system. Never really loved it, never settled into it. So I actually used to commute. I bought a flat near my parents, and I used to just commute from Bedfordshire, which is where I'm originally from, up to London every day because I couldn't bear to live there. I did live there in the end for a few years, but that's another story. So I worked in advertising in London, in marketing, and I can't say as I ever loved it. It was just the job that I fell into, and I kind of, how you kind of work up the career ladder. But I kind of came into my 30s feeling like something was missing and that I wasn't getting enough time riding. I'd always wanted to work with horses, and I just couldn't find a way into it for me. And so I was always looking for a way out, I guess. So roll on a few years, and I met my now husband, and we moved down to the south coast, and he is a professional sailor. And he's Kiwi, and he's got a very laid back attitude to life. And he obviously does his passion for a living, and it really inspired me. And I just decided that I needed something different in my life. Alongside all of this was this kind of growing awareness of what was going on in our planet, in terms of pollution, toxins, global warming, animal testing. So one of the big clients that I'd had in the advertising world, I'd made this horrendous discovery that they were still conducting animal tests. And in my head, I thought that had been, got rid of many years ago, and it turned out not to be the case. And alongside that, I was kind of watching things like David Attenborough's Blue Planet, and this just kind of whole other side of me woke up and just went, what are we doing? What am I doing working in this industry? Why am I going to London every day? There was a big disconnect. So I started Honest Riders back in 2017, which was nearly 10 years ago now. And originally we were focusing on clothing. So we brought out a clothing range, and that was because I had a big interest in passion, and it was meant to just be a side hustle, to be honest, to start off with. And it was alongside this kind of rage against fast fashion and looking into fabrics and using natural fibres instead of synthetic fibres. Over the years, it evolved, and actually I realised that, not realised because it's not 100% true, but I had this feeling that fashion was, the clothing we were developing was contributing to the problem I was trying to avoid in the first place. So we came up with some horse care products. At the same time as this, I was kind of starting to learn about ingredients and about what we were putting on our horses. And again, the animal testing thing came up again. And so I decided to develop some horse care products alongside the clothing. And as the clothing side has slowed down, the horse care side has escalated. And that's now where we are putting 100% of our attention, and where my passion lies. So that's the big long-winded story.
I have a question that I've never considered, and it's a bit of a sidebar, and I'm fascinated by this sort of the journey that you've been on, but does that mean to say that there are equestrian products that are tested on animals still?
I can't tell you that for sure, but what I can tell you is that there are ingredients that have been and are being tested on animals that are used in horse care products.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had an experience with your tack soap. You very kindly gave us some tack soap as you are a part of season 6 with us, and to test out some of your products, which is so magical. And I was using your tack soap, and it made my hands feel really nice. And I thought, oh, this is super interesting. And I had an experience with some tack soap recently. Well, it was quite a while ago now. When I turned it around to read what it said that it absolutely categorically must be used with gloves on, because otherwise it is basically dangerous. And I was thinking, well, we're putting this onto a skin product. That's what leather is. It is the skin of an animal. How can it not be safe for me to have on my hands? This is terrifying and should not be anywhere near anyone ever. So it was such an interesting thing that you found your way here, and I was just thinking, gosh, we can become so unaware of these things, and it's super interesting.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I never set out to become interested in ingredients specifically. I just wanted products that worked for my horses. And as I started developing the products, I realised how many formulations relied on cheap conventional ingredients, I guess simply because they're cheap, and that's because it's how it's always been done. And meanwhile, human skincare is really moving on and becoming more ingredient conscious, and it kind of made me wonder why we're not asking the same questions about the products we're spraying on a 600 kilogram animal every day.
100%. I love your story. I think it's actually more common, and I don't know why, there might be science behind it, that women in their early 30s quite often have a moment where, and maybe men as well actually, where they look around and they're like, is this right? Or they have a tug to a different place. I remember a mentor of mine years ago, and I never forgot it because it was such a visceral image. She said, I spent years climbing the corporate ladder only to realise I was on the wrong wall. And I thought that was such a clever explanation of it. And she ended up quitting and moving to Cornwall and doing something else. So you started it as a side hustle, and then obviously the clothing evolved and you went into ingredients-based products. But what was the moment where it tipped for you, where you were like, I'm doing this full time and I'm really throwing everything into it?
Probably COVID, actually. So, the first few years were a struggle to get any traction because, as you know, the equestrian market is quite saturated, and particularly in clothing. And despite my best marketing efforts, we weren't quite getting there for whatever reason, mostly probably because I was only able to spend an hour or two on it a day. But then COVID happened, and actually I was contracting, I was freelance, working for the ad agencies, and I lost my work overnight. It just all came to a stop. I mean, Rhea, you might remember this, but a lot of the agencies just locked down, really, and they got rid of all their freelancers. So that was income lost. My husband had also lost his income because he is a freelance sailor. And so I just thought, right, I'm just going to put everything into this and see where I can get to.
I love that. I saw something, I think it was today actually, it was talking to creative people, and it was saying, if you are in a service-based industry, I am begging you to have a product, because you can only scale your services so far. And it puts you in an interesting, well, challenging position if anything like that happens. But for you, probably quite freeing. So
so freeing. Yeah,
it's really cool. And I think I can see it when obviously people can't see you, but the way you talk about it, it kind of your eyes light up, and the fact that you followed it down the ingredient path is very entrepreneurial and the mark of a true entrepreneur. So what is that like? How do you actually go about, without sharing your secrets, finding the right ingredients and products and putting all of that together? Because I'm just like, I wouldn't even know where to start, you know?
No, and I'm no chemist. You know, I'm a marketeer. I'm a creative person. So it comes from an understanding of horses and what I wanted as a horse owner, I guess, because I know what I need the products to do, and I know that what I was buying wasn't quite cutting it in terms of performance, but also ingredients. And I did a lot of research. You know, I bought from across a broad spectrum of brands and tested them on my own horses. And then I also within Honest Riders, started to sell other brands' products. And a lot of those I sort of sought out organic focused, natural focused products. And kind of learned from them, really. And just to be honest, a lot of them were really amazing, but some of them were just not quite hitting the mark in terms of their effectiveness. So at that point, I turned to a cosmetic formulator, went to the human world and said, okay, you guys are getting this really right. There's a lot of effective human skincare and hair care products on the market. Can we take some of that expertise and work with it in the horse world and use some of that ingredient knowledge? So I wrote some very extensive briefs. I think she will probably tell you that I was a complete pain in the bum for her, because I listed exactly what I wanted the product to do. And then we went into testing, and she learnt lots along the way about the pH levels of a horse's skin, because it's very different to a human skin. And we tested, we evolved each of the formulations and just tested them on my horses, but also I am on a livery yard, so I had access to lots of other people's horses as well, and just went through that process. But it had a foundation in good skincare and hair care knowledge to start off with, which was my skill area that was lacking, I guess.
You mentioned that horses have different pH to humans, and so you had to do things accordingly. I remember when I was a kid that a coach once said to me, and I definitely think I said this to kids too, and I used to teach them, that horses have thicker skin than people. And actually this is untrue, I believe.
It is untrue.
Yeah, they have thinner skin than
Yes.
humans. And this is, can you talk a little bit about some of your learnings in this and why this is so important, like why we need to be so careful with our horses' pH and their skin and their hair?
That's a really good question. So horses' skin is generally actually thicker than human skin, not thinner. But that doesn't mean it's less sensitive. It's a living organ that acts as a protective barrier, and different areas of the horse's body have very different levels of sensitivity. So think about the skin around the eyes, muzzle or groin area compared to the skin over their back, for instance. Another important difference is the skin's pH. So human skin is naturally quite acidic, usually around pH 4.7 to 5.7, whereas a healthy horse skin tends to be much closer to neutral, so around 6.5 to 7. And that means that products designed for people aren't necessarily the best choice for horses. But for me, the bigger takeaway isn't just about pH. It's that we often apply products over huge areas of a horse's body, sometimes once or twice a day throughout the summer. So I think it's really worth paying attention to what's actually in those products and choosing ingredients that are as gentle and appropriate as possible. And I'm not saying that every conventional ingredient is bad or that natural is always better. I just think it's worth asking a few more questions about what we're actually putting on our horses every single day.
I'm going to take a moment to talk about one of the sponsors of this episode, Honest Riders. Most horse care brands ask you to compromise somewhere. You can have natural ingredients, but the product doesn't really work. You can have effective ingredients, but they're wrapped in green marketing and unnecessary plastic. Or you can have sustainable packaging, but the ingredients tell a different story. Honest Riders was built around a simple idea. Horse owners shouldn't have to choose. Every product is designed to combine effective ingredients, sustainable packaging, and honest formulations that do exactly what they say they'll do. No compromises, no greenwashing, just horse care that works. If you'd like to test the Honest Riders products for yourself, you can use the code TEL15 for 15% off the whole range.
There's so many things that we're talking about that I would have just never considered, like the unregulated nature of it. I've definitely thought about tack cleaner because I think we had that conversation years ago, and I had somebody tell me that I shouldn't be putting, was it glycerin? Might be glycerin. You might know better than me. Yeah, you're nodding. On my tack. And actually finding a tack cleaner that doesn't have glycerin in it is actually really difficult.
It's really difficult, yeah.
Do you know anything about that, the glycerin element of it?
Yeah, so we were actually looking into it. So glycerine as an ingredient isn't bad. It's naturally derived, so it is considered to be a natural ingredient. But for some reason it dries out. So whilst it adds initial moisture, it kind of extracts the moisture from the leather. So it will dry your leather out over time. And some people also find it coats it as well. So it will leave like a sticky layer of coating on it, which is another reason not to use it.
We used to rely on that. The glycerin. We used to rely on that when I worked on a jumping yard because it was what helped your lower legs stay really still in your saddle. Genuinely.
Yeah. Sticky.
Because it was like, oh, that's grim.
I know. And like we used to, before we got on to go jump in the ring, we used to have a tub of Steuben yellow tack soap, and we'd go and spit in it and then wipe it on our boots, and then off we'd go in the ring. There you go. I grew up in a wild way with the horses. I know, absolutely mental.
It is. It's those old school tack soap bars, isn't it, that you just used to coat on, and it was just sticky and gross. Yeah.
And you thought it was good because it was shiny, but actually it wasn't actually any good at all.
No.
Go on. I was going to talk about Zoe's. I was going to talk about your Grand Prix riding, Zoe.
Oh yeah, go. Because I was going to ask about fly spray, which we can do at any time.
Okay. So Zoe, you are a Grand Prix rider. Have ridden at Grand Prix. Are you currently doing so? Is that a thing that you're still doing? She is nodding.
Yes.
That's very impressive.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about?
Actually.
Wow.
Yes, it's my first time.
Can you tell us a bit about your horsey journey, like how that has inspired you maybe, or whether you had any specific horses that called for you to do something different? I wondered if that was how you got into what you're doing as well.
It is. I mean, it's just a general obsession with horses, I think. I can't remember a time that I wasn't obsessed with them. And you know how some people grow out of it when they get to sort of 15, 16 and boys come along, and I just didn't. I never grew out of it. And I've just always loved horses. And again, going back to the story at the beginning, I just always felt this pull between what convention wants you to do and to earn and to go and achieve in a career versus what I actually wanted to be doing, which was messing around with my horses. And I used to jump and event, and I did pony club and just anything I could get my hands on. And I never had ready-made horses. I always had to produce them myself. My parents didn't know a great deal, so they would just buy me. I mean, I think they bought me a 5-year-old or 4-year-old at the age 14, which was badly advised. But anyway, I've always had to self-produce them, and I used to event. And then when I went to university and started working in London, I just couldn't keep the horses fit enough. And the horse that I had at the time was good at the dressage element of eventing. So I thought to myself, I'll carry on doing a bit of dressage whilst I'm finishing my degree, and whilst I'm really busy at the start of my career. And I just never gave up with the dressage. I fell in love with it, and I really love the detail and the kind of discipline and the kind of connection that you have with the horse. So stuck with dressage basically, and since then have been trying to do anything vaguely decent. And about 10 years ago, I bought a 2-year-old horse called Trevor. He was all I could afford at the time, so I had to back him myself. And I met Claire Gallimore. He was very hot and sensitive, so I trained with Claire and used the TRT method.
I didn't know that. Zoe, we're so connected, all of us.
I know,
it's this intermingled web of connection, because I got a pony when I was that similar age. Well, I was a bit younger. I was 12. Ree has gone on a similar journey. I've trained with Claire. We're all the same person, just doing
We are, literally. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you've trained him since he was 2 years old up to Grand Prix.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And he's a dressage horse with a name like
He's
Trevor.
a dressage horse, yeah.
They always are.
His proper name is Platinum Barbarian, which sounds really grand. He's actually like a complete wimp about life and everything.
They are. All the proper dressage horses I know have names like Neil.
Yeah.
Because I think I don't know why. It's funny, I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, and it really suits him. We call him Clever Trev because he kind of goes, "Oh yeah, I am, aren't I?" When I tell him that, and he's so sweet. But yeah, I decided again in my 30s that that was what I wanted to do, and I just focused on it, and we've just kind of climbed up the levels really, and it's quite terrifying the opportunities it's given me in the last couple of years, because my trainers have kind of encouraged me to go and compete at the Premier Leagues. So I've been doing that. So I did small tour for a couple of years, and then made the step up to Grand Prix this year.
Amazing.
So I've just done the Premier Leagues season's just finished, so I've just done my first run. And I didn't come last in all of them. So that was good. So we're just going from there, really, like learning with each other and just hoping to get better with each other, which is pretty cool.
And how do you, because I think a lot of people in corporate jobs always dream of spending more time with their horses. And then people who have their own businesses are like, oh, I can't spend time with my horse because I'm constantly running my business. So what does your balance look like? Like, what does a typical day or a typical week look like for you?
My life is quite chaotic, but I just prioritise it because I love it. Like, I just can't imagine life not doing that every day. So, and I had a baby a few years ago as well, so I've got a little boy now. So that adds a whole nother level of chaos into life. So I get up first thing. If my husband Tom's in the country, then he will do the school drop off so that I can go and ride. And I also bought a foal the same year that I had a baby. Anyway, so I've now got 2 horses, which is really stupid. But anyway, so I'm backing her at the minute. She's a 4-year-old. So I go, and they're at a livery yard about half an hour away. So I go up and I ride Trev, and I'm doing lots of in-hand work still with Asia, my 4-year-old. And then I start my working day back at the workshop at about 10 a.m, I guess. I just prioritise the riding. That's what I do every day. We've got a team of, there was 3 of us. We've got a new starter starting on Thursday in the business. So I have lots of help now. So the team do sort of customer services and packing orders. And then my focus is very much on marketing and kind of operations and growing the business. So I do that during the day, and then I try where I can to do school pickup, and then I work again in the evenings. So it's a real juggle. And then when Tom goes away for work, it's a whole nother layer of absolute chaos. But, yeah.
I remember when I was younger, they kind of, people would say to you, either you've got to get a good job to afford to have a horse, or you've got to be really good at riding a horse to be able to work in horses. And it's so interesting to hear that, like, the different paths and how you kind of went away from it, came back to it, and have managed to keep it as a theme throughout. Have you got any kind of golden nuggets of advice for anyone who is maybe in that age where they're starting to kind of work out which direction they're planning to go?
Yeah, and I think the other thing you also get told in your 20s and early 30s is that you can have it all. You can do whatever you want, and it's a lie. It's absolute rubbish, because you can do anything you want, you can achieve anything you want, but you can't do it all, and you have to prioritise. So you have to decide what's most important to you. And I've never prioritised my career. I'm not that way orientated, and I just decided that like the horses are it. Like that's why I exist, and that's what I'm passionate about. Luckily now with the business, I can bring the two things together. So it's horses, but it's also business, and it's a bit of creativity and marketing. So I feel like I'm living my dream now, because I've finally got that right balance where my career kind of catapulted me, gave me a bit of money to buy the horses, to have them on livery, etc., and to start that whole thing off and buy a house. And now with Honest Riders, I can bring those two passions together, and it's just prioritizing. I think you have to decide what's really important to you and follow it.
I work with a coach we meet like 4 times a year, and I've worked with her for a long time in my corporate career, and she talks a lot about the idea of a 10-pointed star. So there are 10 points on it, or 5 points maybe, and each point has 10 markers on it. So it'll be like one's for family, one's for fitness, one's for hobbies, one's for work, etc., etc., money, whatever's important to you. And you mark out how much of your time and energy goes to each thing between 0 and 10, and you get a kind of a shape. And if you're trying to make a decision like, do I quit my job to go and do whatever with horses or whatever, what you can do is look at what it would look like to live that life in 3 years' time and map that star out, or a different route or whatever. And it's a really interesting one because you get a really visual shape. And I feel like yours would be like, the horses are always a 10. That's just where they are. And I think being really clear on that actually is such a gift.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not something that I had. It's taken me a long time to realise that, actually, and to be okay with it, because I think about over the years I've missed out on big nights out with work in London that were really fun potentially, but I would always go home because I wanted to ride the next morning. Yes. I've missed out on having more kids. Okay, so I have got one now, but I should have done it early maybe, and I maybe would have wanted a few more, but I didn't, because so there's always a sacrifice, and like you say, you have to kind of decide what your priorities are.
I like that a lot.
Sounds like wise words, but it actually comes with a heap of chaos. So
no, I love it.
One of the things that I read about that I didn't know that Honest Riders does is that you are quite the philanthropist, as in you support welfare charities. Can you talk to us a bit about why that's important to you, and how you decided that was going to be something that you were going to do?
I saw a clothing brand many years ago doing it. They did all the like mother jumpers and t-shirts and stuff, and they donated a portion of their profit to charity. And I remember thinking, I bought one of their sweatshirts, and I just thought, oh, this is amazing, because I feel like I'm buying something, but I'm also doing good. And I just thought, when I start a business, I want to also do that, make it not just about profit, but about giving back to the economy and giving back to the things I'm passionate about, the things I care about, and also making sure that our footprint on the planet is as low as it possibly can be. So that it was just all part and parcel of that. Sustainability isn't just about not using as much plastic. It's also about your impact on the planet and how you affect the world and what your legacy should be. And I just felt really strongly that that was a really important part of it. So I went and visited World Horse Welfare. They're one of our supported charities. Balkan Underdogs, so I've got my little dog here, Coco. She came from the Balkans, and that was the charity that I adopted her from. So I wanted to support that charity. So we just picked charities that I thought were making a difference to horses, and that's what our customers hopefully should care about as well. And we were originally, with the clothing, giving a portion of our profits towards those charities. It's changed now so that we give a portion of the total order value to the charity. And the customer can actually select which charity it goes to at checkout. So
that's really cool.
So we do that.
And was that something that you kind of factored into your business plan, or was it something that evolved afterwards?
Oh God, my business plan was so loose. This is really bad. As someone that did a business degree, a management degree, no less, my business plan was terrible. I'm a bit of a passion person, and I just decided it was the right thing to do rather than it being about the money. So now it's baked into the numbers. I obviously know what that contribution looks like and what our profit margins are, but when I first started, I had no idea. I just started donating, so it was very loose.
I love that.
Don't try that at home, guys. Like, it's not the way to do it, but that's how I did it.
I just feel like you live a very aligned life, and like you've got this passion that a red thread, an invisible string through your life. You might not want to talk about this, so feel free to skip the question, but is there anything that you've tried that you were like really excited about and then it just didn't work? Because you've talked about the change from clothing to kind of products with ingredients, but was there anything else that you were like, oh, I really want to do this, and it just you haven't been able to do it, or it didn't land?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think there is. I mean, I'm an all or nothing person. So once I decide to do something, I just give it 100% until I get there. But I have got more ideas which are aligned to the sustainability and horses thing that I possibly won't reveal just yet because they're a work in progress. But I feel like I've got more to give back to that community and sharing that message.
Yeah.
On the topic of sustainability, obviously, well, maybe not obviously to people, but can you talk to us a bit about that and why that's so important for the wider equestrian community, I guess, because I think about it a lot, but maybe it's not something that comes up generally. But can you talk a bit about like why that's so important?
Yeah, so it's, for me, it started with plastic. So again, going back to the Blue Planet series that I was watching with David Attenborough and the plastic waste in the sea. And then I looked in my tack room cupboard and it was just full of plastic. And I knew full well that I would use that coat spray or that detangler and the plastic would go in the bin. And it would go in the recycling bin. But then I discovered that only something like 30% of UK household recycling actually gets recycled. Most of it either ends up in landfill or gets shipped off to somewhere far east. And then they burn it. So that's where it started. And obviously plastic is only one very tiny small portion of sustainability. But that was where I started. And I was thinking about what are the alternative packaging solutions to having heaps of plastic bottles. So we were one of the very first brands to do shampoo bars instead of having shampoo in a bottle. And actually, to be honest, personally, I thought that it was going to be a nightmare. I thought, how can a shampoo bar be any better than having it in a bottle? I just don't believe it, which is sounding weird, but I thought, but I need to go down that route to try and reduce the plastic. But once I tried the product and we were testing, I was like, oh my God, this is actually better than using it in a bottle because there's no risk of kicking it over and spilling it. You put it in a Cecil bag to hold it with, and then you rub it all over their body and they get a massage. You actually lift the dirt. Yeah, exactly. Traditional sponges are full of plastic. So you'll see in the goodies that I've sent you guys, there's some plastic-free sponges. They compost. And then we were looking at refills. So in the household cleaning world, you'll notice that now you can quite often buy little refills for your household cleaning products. So you keep the original bottle and then you just buy the refill, which is fully recyclable, reducing your plastic waste. That didn't exist in the horse world, so we set out to try and find a way of creating that, and that's where the tack cleanser that you guys have been using is a refill. So you buy the bottle, and it has 50 ml of concentrate in the bottom. You add tap water and shake it to mix, and then you have your ready-made product. And then when you run out, you just buy a tiny refill, 50 ml refill, tip it back into the bottle. And the refill bottles are aluminium, so they are endlessly recyclable.
That product was one of the ones that really stuck in my head when I first tried Honest Riders, because I remember reading on the website, yes, okay, you're saving on the size of the bottle, but also it was a comment about the shipping, because you can ship so many more because the bottles are so much smaller. And so you're taking so many more vans off the road. And it was such a cool moment because I was like, oh, wow, just this tiny little action from me is having this real knock-on effect when it's done with a bunch of other people. And that was really cool. I remember thinking, like, this is really smart, really clever.
And also with the realisation that actually 90% of the liquid horse care products we're using are water.
Yeah.
So you can take the water out and get the customer to add it at home. it doesn't take away from the effectiveness of the product, because actually the water is always there in the products you buy anyway. But by reducing the weight of it, like you say, it just has a much lower carbon impact on the shipping. But it also, you still get an effective product.
Yeah, so good. Is there any product that took the longest to formulate or put together, the hardest one?
Yeah, and it's actually turned out to be our bestseller. We've got a product called the Mane and Tail Elixir.
Yes.
And that was born from the fact that I very naively used to wear put a lot of neck rugs on Trev to keep him warm. And he had a big portion of his mane that was completely rubbed out, and I was at my wit's end because trying to plait that is very difficult.
Harley's is like that at the moment, but that's because they play in the field.
Right, chew it off. Yeah, and that was the other thing. He'd had his tail chewed off as a 2-year-old in the field, so I wanted to come up with a product that would help with regrowth. And then I started to research mane and tail products in general and realised that the majority of them are full of silicone. And that gives that, when you spray a detangler into the horse's tail and it gives that beautiful silky feel, that's the silicone. And whilst it does a really good job of detangling, it also is hydrophobic. So it means that it coats the hair and stops any new moisture from coming in. So what ends up happening as you use it over time is that the hair dries out, becomes brittle and snaps, and then it never recovers. So that was how that product was born, and it took us I think about a year to develop till I was fully happy with it. But it's essentially, it's a bit like a leave-in conditioner for manes and tails, and I love the product now. It's really cool. It's my favourite, and it took ages. I'm proud of it.
I didn't know. I feel stupid now. I didn't know that it was for that as well, because I used to use it for plaiting. Like I used other kind of gripping products, and then I switched to the Mane and Tail Elixir. But I didn't know that it was for regrowth as well. So I'm gonna have to slather it on.
Yes, yeah, because what it will do is it will condition the hair that's coming back through. So it's not a product that goes onto the skin. So you'll see some products that you put onto the skin that use sort of coconut oil and stuff. And that's supposed to stimulate regrowth, whereas our product protects the hair that comes back through and makes sure that it doesn't get dry and brittle and snap off, because the hair follicle, when it gets rubbed or chewed or whatever, gets damaged, and so the hair that grows back through is naturally quite weak. So what you have to try and do is protect the hair that comes back through by conditioning it, and so that's what that product's designed to do.
Love it.
Yeah.
So much thought has gone into all of this, and it's one of those things, isn't it? I sometimes think we take these things for granted. We just use mane and tail. Just is what we do. We just don't think about it, and it's like that disconnection that you spoke about so early on. Of we all do that. We all practice disconnection, and without realizing, and then sometimes we kind of go, "Oh my God, I can't be aligned with that anymore. That doesn't suit me. That doesn't actually fit what I thought was right or wrong." A question that I had that came up for me that I wondered if you could answer, Zoe, which I think you may have a cool answer to, is like, what is your definition of success now?
Personally or for the business?
Any direction. I guess I thought about it because of you've had such a divert in your life at some point. What does success look like for somebody who has come away from a corporate career working for big brands and, having a good income, that kind of
salary.
thing. Yeah, good salary. Yeah, to be blunt, talking about money, you had the money, you had the life, you had the job. But what does success feel like or look like for you now? Like, and why is that important?
I think about it all the time, actually, and interestingly this year even more so, because I've got to Grand Prix, and that was a goal of mine from a little girl. I've always dreamed of getting to the top level of the sport, and now I'm going, what next? Like, is this it? Does this make me happy? Should I be here? And obviously I'm having all of the same thoughts and questions in my head about that you guys are talking about on your podcast around welfare in top level sport. That's probably not answering the question. Success is like time to do the things I love, and time to spend time with the people that I love. I think I've realised, and it's not about the material things. It's not about the rosettes. It's time, isn't it? Because you can't buy time. Is that a good answer? I don't know. I don't feel like I know the answer to that really right now, because I question it all the time.
But maybe that's maybe that's the power of it, and that's what it is. It's transient. It's not one thing. I remember a while back that somebody defined success for them as being able to have breakfast with their family if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it?
You know, having the time, not to rush out the door, not to be somewhere, to have the time. And I do think myself, I think I would define success as having the time to do the things that I want to do. Because you run an equestrian business, it's just crazy all the time. You know, you've got to make time and prioritize doing the things you want to do, I guess.
You haven't. It's not even about slowing down, because I don't have a lot of time. I don't have spare time, but I don't mind, because the things that I'm spending my time on, I care about, and I feel like I'm making a difference. I hope I am anyway, and that's what I want to do with the business in particular. And then personally, just keeping my personal impact on the planet to a minimum, on my horses to a minimum. Yeah, and spending your time wisely, isn't it, really, I guess.
People that talk about marriages as, I wake up and choose this every day. I choose this person every day. And I liken it a bit to that. You wake up and you go, I choose this for myself today. I would choose to do this. And I think that actually is a freedom that a lot of people don't have, which is cool. You know, cool for you, I mean, not cool that they don't have the choice.
And something that I craved for a long, long time, because I felt really powerless and out of control and trapped. So
that brings us very nicely onto the closing question that I ask everybody, Zoe, that comes on the podcast. And I suppose it's relevant to answer this however you see fit, whether you feel like it's for somebody with a horse or just somebody who is listening to this podcast because they are horsey. If you had one thing that you could say to every equestrian and they kind of had to listen and do the thing you were suggesting, what would you say?
Don't be afraid to change your mind. So some of the best horse people I've met are the ones that never stop learning. And I have listened to every one of your podcasts, girls, and I feel like I learn something every time I listen. So I'm really grateful for that. But it's made me change my mind about lots of things. I think about what I feed, and I've changed it. The products I use, how I manage my horses, how I train them, how I ride them. And I don't think changing your mind is admitting that you're wrong. I see it as a sign that you've learned something new and that you're growing. And you know, we all love our horses and we want to do the best for them. So if new evidence comes along, or someone challenges your thinking in a positive way, don't be afraid to listen, and don't be afraid to ask those questions yourself. Challenge what you're seeing on the shelf. You know, look into ingredients, find out what they do to your horse and why are they in that product in the first place. And I think I'm less interested now in being right and more interested in doing right by my horse and my family.
Love that.
What an answer.
10 out of 10.
10, yeah. 10. I think if we were to mark people out of 10, Zoe, I think you would get a 10 for that one. That was great.
Oh, good.
Maybe we should start doing that, just rating people's answers out of 10. No, that was a 4. Yeah. That was what everyone said.
That was rubbish. Try again.
Yeah. Oh, wow, Zoe. Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope this conversation gives a little bit of inspiration to somebody who maybe doesn't totally know the direction that they're going in. I think so many people find themselves in that position. You know I did through my 20s. I was training horses for a living. That's what I was doing. And I was thinking, should I keep doing this? Is this the right thing? I'm really poor. I don't know if I can keep doing it. But it was the only thing that kept coming back up. You know, I looked into different qualifications, and I think it's so nice to hear someone who has, you know, did the hard thing, earned the money, and got somewhere to enable what then they wanted to do. Like, that's a great way of looking at it. You know, it's a bit like you've been to uni doing the hard marketeer job. Who knows where one day you'll end up? But it's just like, I don't know, it's just really cool to hear such an amazing female founder success story. I'm so grateful for you coming on and sharing all of your insight with us today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And stay tuned, keep your ears open throughout season 6 as we sort of give you our thoughts on some of the products that lovely Zoe has let us try out, as well as on our socials. So Yeah,
I
stay
can't wait
tuned.
to hear what you think.
Absolutely.
What a wonderful conversation.
Yeah.
I feel very
Gosh.
inspired. I feel like sometimes you're just meant to hear things, and that was that for me today.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, all of what we've both got going on in our own lives, it's so relevant to hear somebody who has lived kind of multiple careers in her life. And I think that's really validating to be like, you can pivot, go for it, pivot. Do what you do what you need to do for you so that you can find your own way. Oh, wonderful. We will see you guys next week, Wednesday, 6 a.m. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye for now.